Okay. So yesterday, what we did is we worked with bytes and bytes array. And after that, we started working with the functions, right? I said why we have to write the functions. Okay. I said functions are small programs within the program, right? So Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. In Python programming, is done using different programming approaches or concepts, right? So this is what we have seen. I said what is a function is and what is the advantage of writing functions. And functions are how many types here? Two types. One is a predefined functions and one more is user defined functions. And I said function is divided into two parts. One is writing the function and one more is calling the function. Until you don't call the function is not executed. Okay. And syntax of writing a function and how you are writing the function by using the keyword called def. Def is a keyword which is used for writing the function. So def it followed by function name and it followed by what here? Arguments or parameters. So a function is defined with arguments or parameters or without arguments or parameters, with written value or without a written value. Okay. So you can write a function in different ways, with parameters or without parameters, or with written value or without a written value. Okay. Suppose now generally, so this is a function without parameters or arguments. This is function without parameters, or arguments. You are writing a function without parameters or without arguments. Okay. So you are writing a function without parameters or without arguments. So function without arguments or parameters. So if you want to give any input, if you want to give the input to the function, you have to write the function with parameters or with arguments. If you don't want to give any input to the function, then you have to write the function without parameters or without arguments. Okay. So function without parameters or arguments. So doesn't receive values. Function without parameters or arguments doesn't receive values at the time of calling or invoking which one? Functions. Means I cannot give any input to that function if the function doesn't have what here? Parameters. Okay, if the function doesn't have parameters, then you cannot give any input to that function. Okay. So what is the meaning of this here? Suppose. So what is the meaning of this here? For example, assume that. Okay, for example, suppose I'm writing one function here. So the name of the function is, what is the name of the function is? So the name of the function is some say hello. Okay, and function name. Function name is what here? User defined or predefined? User defined. Okay, function name is a user defined. And what is the name of my function? Say hello, and you open parenthesis and close the parenthesis. Now this is function without parameters. So inside this parenthesis, is it any variables are there? No. Suppose if I'm writing a comma b, now this function say hello, receive how many values here? Two values. One is a value and one more is b value. But if I'm not writing anything, I'm just writing here say hello. Means is it this function will receive any input here? No. This function will not receive any input. Okay. So function is a block and block is begin with what? Colon. And you create a block by giving indentation. Indentation is nothing but space. Okay. And here I'm trying to display the message. Okay. So hello, some welcome to, okay, welcome to what here? Functions. Okay, now this is writing the function. Okay, this is writing the function or defining function. So by writing the function, is it function is executed? See here, why, by writing a function, is it function is executed? No. If I run this program, will you get any output here? No. Because we write only a function, but is it function is used or not used? Not used. Why you are writing a function to perform operation? So you write one function to display the message, say hello. We write a function, but are we use this function in the program? No. In order to use, you have to call this function as an executable statement. Okay. So here I'm saying say hello. I'm saying here say, okay, say what here? Hello. Now this is called as which one? Invoking function. This is called as invoking function or executing function. This is called as invoking function or executing function. Which function are you executing? Say hello. And this will display the message hello. What is the message? Welcome to functions. But how many times this function has been called? Only one time. But can you call the function more than one time or not? Yes. So whenever you run the program or module, Python virtual machine always look for which statements? Executable statements. But writing a function is executing function? No. Calling the function is which one? Executing function. Now this is which statement? Executable statement. Now I just write here run module. Now you can see hello, welcome to functions. Now can you call this function any number of times? Yes. I'm writing. That is what you mean by reusability. Okay. You write a function once and use that function how many times? Number of times. Okay. But can you give any input to this function? Can I write 10 comma 20? No. You are giving some input to the function, but is it this function receive this input? No. Why? Because it doesn't have any parameters. It doesn't have any parameters or what? Arguments. If it is having parameters or arguments, now immediately it is given error. What is that error? Type error. Say hello takes how many arguments? 0 arguments, but you are given how many? 2. It doesn't receive any values. Now this function will not receive any values, but you are given how many values here? 2 values. Is it allowed or not allowed? Not allowed. Okay. So this is not allowed. So function without arguments doesn't receive any values. Okay. Yes. So until you don't call the function, the memory for the function is not allocated. When memory for function is allocated, so when the function is called, so this is an example here. Now you can say that this is which function here, main. So this is called as a main here, because your program execution start from here, main. Main is nothing but invoking which statements, executable statements. So how many times this function has been called here? 3 times. Okay, so here message is displayed how many times? 3 times. So memory for function is allocated. Memory for function is allocated when so when memory for function is allocated, when function is invoked. When function is what here? Invoked. Until unless you don't call the function, memory for that function is not allocated. When function is invoked and memory is deallocated, So when memory is deallocated after execution of what? Function. So memory is reserved when function is called. Memory unreserved after execution of the function. So you can have any number of functions within the program. Okay, now, but always a function should be written before calling. Okay, always a function should be defined before calling on. Suppose first you call and then you write function, then it gives what? Error, because Python is interpreted. So interpreted means line by line. Okay, now. So first you call the function and then you write the function. Then what will happen? So before calling it, look, is it function is there or not? So that's the reason always the function should be defined before calling. So there is no forward definitions are possible, right? So function must be defined before invoking the function. Okay. So function must be defined. Function must be defined before. So before invoking what here? Function. Not after invoking the function, but before invoking function. It means in this case, now can I say hello? Can I say hello first? Can I say hello first and then I write a function say hello? No, I cannot write like this. If I write like this, immediately it is given which error? Name error, saying that there is no function called which one? Say hello. Getting on, there is no function called say hello. But is it say hello is defined or not defined? Defined. But is it before calling or after calling? After calling. But function must be defined before calling only. Okay, so one program can have any number of functions. For example, this is a function 1. Okay, now here I'm just displaying the message inside function 1. Okay, now there is another function, I write function 2, and then I'm displaying a message inside what is this here? Function 2. Okay, I'm writing another function called function 3, and I'm displaying the message inside function 3 like this. So how many functions I write here? 3 functions. Okay, then I can call in any order. Don't think that first I write a function 1, then I should call only function 1. No, any function can be called in any way. Suppose my requirement is first I want to call function 2. I call the function 2. Now I want to call the function 1, then I can call function 1. Then I want to call the function 3, I can call the function 3. Then again I want to call the function 1, I can call the function 1. So don't think that the way how you define in the same way you should call it. No, the function can be called in any order. The function can be called in any order. So there is no order of defining the function calling, right? Yes, but to know or to call the function, what do you need to know? Is it that function is with arguments or without arguments? If you don't know, is it function is with arguments or without, you cannot call it. So that is function header should be known, right? Inside function 2, inside function 1, inside function 3, inside function 1, and inside function 2. So whenever you call the function, now your program execution is done from where? Tell me. Now your program execution is done from where? By invoking which statements? Executable statements. How many executable statements are there in your program? 5 are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How many executable statements are there in your program? 5 executable statements. So that is a function 2, and there is a function 1, and there is a function 3, there is a function 1, again there is a function 2. So number of executable statements are how many here? 5 are there. So first, what will happen? So PVM, Python virtual machine calls which function? Function 2. Okay, so what will happen? There is a memory. Now there is a memory allocated for which one? Function 2. There is a memory allocated for function 2. So what function 2 is doing? It is displaying one message inside function 2. Okay, so after execution of this function, okay, what will happen? The control is switched from calling place to which place? Called place. Here, whenever function is called, the control is switched from calling place to called place, and from called place again return to which place? Calling place. Is it execution of this statement is completed? Yes. Then the control is moved to what here? Next line. But before moving the control to the next line, is it this memory is deleted or not? Yes. So memory is created when for this function when it is called, and when memory is deleted once the execution of function is completed. Is it execution of this statement is over or not? Yes. Then the control is go to which line? Next line. In the next line you are calling what? Function 1. Then it will call the function 1. Now control is moved to which function? Function 1. So there is a memory. There is a memory allocated for which one? Function 1. What function 1 is doing? It is displaying a message that is inside function 1. Is it execution of function 1 is completed? Yes. Execution of function 1 is completed. Once the execution of function is completed, the control is returned to which place here? Calling place. Okay. So once it is written, now, is it this statement is executed or not? Yes. Once it is executed, this memory is what here? Deallocate. Then control is go to which line here? Next line. And here you are calling the function 3. So the control is moved to function 3, and there is a memory allocated for which one? Function 3. And function 3 display the message. What is the message inside function 3? And then control is written to which place? Calling place. Okay, once it is written, this memory is what here? Deleted. Then again it will go to the next line and invoke which function? Function 1, and there is a memory allocated for which one? Function 1. It means whenever function is called, execution control is switched from calling place to which one? Called place, or calling function to which function? Called function. And after execution of this called function, the execution control return to which place? Calling place. Getting honors. Now calling place means assume that this is a main. Okay, main means who is calling this here? PVM. PVM create one main function and calls which function here? Function 2. After execution of function 2, the control is returned to what? Main. And go to the next line. And then call the function 1. And after execution of function 1, the control is returned to which one? Main. And then call the function 3. After execution of function 3, control is returned to calling place. And what is the calling place here? Main. Okay, then again call the function 1. So whenever function is called, the control is switched from calling place to called function. And after execution of called function, the control is returned to which function? Calling place. Okay. Yes. So there will be a context switching between calling place to which place? Called place. And from called place to which place? Calling place. Okay. Yes. For example, yes. But these are functions without arguments here. So whenever function is called, whenever function is called or invoked, okay, whenever function is called or invoked, so the execution control switched from where? Calling place to which one? Called function. And after execution of which function? Called function. So execution control return to, okay, execution control return to which place here? Calling place. After execution of this, it will return to which place here? Calling place. So whenever function is called or invoked, the execution control switched from calling place to called function, and after execution of called function, execution control return to which place? Calling place. For example, a basic example I'm taking. For example, there is a function called which one? Draw line. So what is the name of the function? Draw line. So this is a function without what? Arguments. Okay, without arguments or what here? Parameters. Function without arguments or without parameters. So this doesn't have any arguments here. Draw line. So I want to draw the line, but how I am drawing the line? By repeating one character. How many times here? 20 times. So what is the character which I am repeating here? Star. So I am repeating the star. How many times I'm repeating the star here? 20 times. So then I insert one new line. See it. Now what is the name of the function? Draw line. So what is the job of draw line? Drawing the line. What is the job of draw line? Drawing the line, right? Okay. The job of draw line is drawing the line. Okay, right now, how you are writing this logic, draw line, and I write one for loop, right? And this for loop get executed how many times? This for loop get executed how many times here? 20 times. It will try to draw how many stars here? 20 stars. And then it insert one new line. See here. Once I run this, now is it draw the line here? Okay, is it draw the line or doesn't draw the line? Doesn't draw the line. But I want to draw the line, so I just call the function. What is the function I called here? Draw line. I call the function draw line. Now there is a line is drawn or not? Yes. So print, I'm printing a message saying that Python. Okay, Python. So after drawing the line, now there is one more statement is there. What is that statement? Print Python. Okay, then again I call the function draw line, and then I print a message. Okay, programming. Okay, I print a message programming. Now you can see draw the line and then Python and again draw the line and then one message. What is the message? Programming. And again I call the function call which one? Draw line. So you can see draw the line and print a message Python and draw the line and print a message programming. Again, I draw the line. But are you given any input to this particular function? No, because is it this function is with the arguments or without arguments? Without arguments. So if the function without arguments doesn't receive any values. Okay. So how many functions you use in this function program? Two functions. One is draw line and one more is a print. So draw line is which function? User define. User define. Print is what? Predefined. Okay, now. So this is draw line is a user define and print is what? Predefined. So when existing functions doesn't fulfill your requirement, then you write your own functions. Okay, now when existing functions, I mean application specific functions are not provided by Python. So you develop your own functions which perform certain operations. Okay, so there is a draw line and print a message Python, and again call the function draw line and print a message called which one? Programming. Again call the function which one? Draw line. So draw line. Okay, now. So draw line is a function which draw the line. Now here, this is called as which one? Main. But you can write, I said you can write a function without arguments. You can write a function without arguments, or you can write a function with arguments. Okay, you can write a function without arguments or parameters, or you can write a function with arguments or with the parameters. You can write a function with arguments or with the parameters, or you may write a function without arguments or without the parameters, right? So yes. Now, if you want to give the input to the function, then you have to write a function without if you want to give the input to the function, then you have to write a function without arguments. Okay, right? If you don't want to give the input to the function, you write a function without arguments. And if you want to give the input to the function, then you write a function with the arguments. Okay, right. So just as your function with the arguments, function with the arguments or function with arguments or function with is called as which one here? Parameters. Function with arguments or function with parameters. So function with arguments or function with parameters. So function without arguments here, function without arguments doesn't receive values. Function without arguments doesn't receive values at the time of calling or invoking which one? Function. But function with arguments receive values. Function with arguments receive values at the time of calling or invoking function. So function with arguments receives values at the time of calling or invoking function. So if you want to give the input to the function, you have to write the function with the arguments. So Python allows to write a function with how many types of arguments? 4 types of arguments. 4 types of arguments are what? Parameters. So first one is, okay, first one is required positional arguments. First one is called as required positional arguments or required arguments. Second one is, okay, default arguments. Default arguments or optional arguments. Third one is variable length arguments. And fourth one is keyword arguments. So you can write a function in Python with how many types of arguments? 4 types of arguments. Required positional arguments, default arguments or optional arguments, variable length arguments, and one more is a keyword arguments. Okay, keyword arguments. Keyword arguments. Now these are different types of arguments. You have required positional arguments, and default arguments are optional arguments. And third one is variable length arguments. And fourth one is what here? Keyword arguments. So these are 4 types of arguments you can write a function with. Okay. Yes. You can write a function with these 4 types of arguments. But generally arguments are receivers are these arguments generally call it as local variables. What is this? Arguments are called as here local variables. Arguments are what here? Local variables. What is local variables? So what is local variable? What is local variable? A variable declared inside a function is called which variable? Local variable. So where these variables are used only within the function, but these variables cannot be accessible where? Outside the function. Okay, these variables are accessible, okay, are accessed within, okay, within function, but cannot access where? Outside. Cannot access where? Outside function. So a variable declared inside function is called a local variable. A variable declared inside function is called local variable. And these variables are accessed within function but cannot access outside the function. What is the scope? Scope of the variable is what? Local. Means within. Scope of this variable is what? Local. Local means what here? Within function. Suppose if I am writing one variable inside the function, for example, if I am writing function 1, I said a equal to 100. Now this is called as which variable? Local variable. If I am writing b equal to 200, this is called as which variable? Local variable. So where I can use these variables? Only inside function 1. Can I use these variables inside function 2? No, because these variables are local to which function? These variables are local to which function? Function 1. You can use these variables only inside function 1, but you cannot use inside what here? Function 2. Can I say print A and print B? Inside function 2, can I say print A and print B? No. No, I cannot say that because where is A and B variables are? Where is A and B variables are in function 1, and these variables I cannot use in what? Function 2, because these variables are what here? Local. So local means it is only within function, but you cannot use these variables where? Outside the function. So the scope of these variables are within the function. These variables cannot be accessible where? Outside the function. Now once I run this, it is given error. What is this error? Name error. Name A is not defined. Where it is not defined? In function 2. See here, name A is not defined, but it is not defined inside what? Function 2. Function 2, but it is defined in what? Function 1. But is it accessible in function 2? No, because this variable scope is what? Local. So this variable scope is a local, means you can use this variables only inside the same function, but you cannot use these variables where? Outside the function. If you are trying to access outside the function, so it is trying to give which one? Error, right? So here I can write print. Can I use these variables inside the function? Yes, print A, B. Now this doesn't give any error. Now, is it print A and B values or not? Yes. But when you are trying to print A, B inside function 2, then immediately it is given which error? Name error. Because there's no variable called A and B. There's no variable called A and B inside what? Function 2. There's no variable called A and B inside the function 2, right? Yes. So this both gives what here? Error. So there is error is there. Okay, first two values are displayed, but here this is a given error. So what is the error is? Inside the function 2 there is no variable. Inside the function 2 there is no variable called which one? A. So that is the error is given, right? Okay. So function parameters also called which variables? Local variables, right? So there are four types of arguments or parameters. What is the first one? Required positional arguments. And what is the second one? Default arguments or optional arguments. And what is the third one? Variable length arguments. What is the fourth one? Keyword arguments. Okay, so first we'll see what is this required positional arguments. Required positional arguments or required arguments. Yeah, these are also called required arguments. But arguments are which variables? Arguments are which variables? Local variables. Okay, arguments are local variables. Okay, arguments are nothing but local variables. So where these arguments are used only within the function, but these arguments you cannot use it where? Outside. So function with the required arguments. Okay, required arguments means that function required the values. Without giving values to the required arguments, okay, if you don't give the values to the required arguments, Python virtual machine gives what? Error. So required arguments require the values at the time of calling the function or invoking function. Required arguments required. Okay, required which one? Values. Required arguments required values at the time of invoking or calling, at the time of invoking or what? Calling the function. For required argument, if you don't give the values, then Python gives what? Error. So you must give the input. You must give the input to this required arguments. If you don't give the input to the required arguments, then Python gives what here? Error. So required arguments required values at the time of invoking or calling the function. Okay. How you are writing this? This is a syntax here. Definition. Okay. So what is the name of the function? You write it. And then you write which name? Argument name or parameter name. So argument is nothing but which variable? Local variable. Okay. So block is begin with what here? Colon. And within the block, you include some statements. So there is a statement 1 and there is a statement 2. Now this is a syntax. So you write a name of the function. This is function name, and you define the arguments list, and there is a beginning of the block, and then you include number of statements. So there is a statement 1 and there is a statement 2 here. Okay, right? Yes. For example, see here. For example, there is a function. Okay, there is a function called function 1 is there. And to this function 1, I'm giving how many parameters here? 3 parameters. See here, this is having how many parameters? 3 parameters or 3 arguments. Okay, now. So A, B, C are called which one? Parameters. A, B, C are called which one? Arguments. A, B, C are what? Local variables. Now, this function 1 receive how many values? This function 1 receive how many values? 3 values. I must give the value for A. I must give the value for B. I must give the value for what? C. If I don't give the value for A, if I don't give the value for B, if I don't give the value for C, then it gives what? Error. Now suppose I'm saying print A value, B value, and what? C value. So I just write only a function, but is it this function is invoked or not invoked? Not invoked. Now you have to invoke the function 1. How many values I can give? 3 values, 10 comma 20 comma 30. So what will happen? Whenever you call the function, the execution control is switched from calling place to called place, and you are calling the function by giving how many inputs here? 3 inputs. You are calling the function by giving how many inputs here? 3 inputs. The first input is 10. Now 10 is assigned to which variable? A. Second input is a 20, and 20 is assigned to which variable? B. And third input is a 30, and this is assigned to which variable? C. Then what is the value of A? 10. What is the value of B? 20. What is the value of C? 30. It means there is a memory allocated for which one? A. There is a memory allocated for which one? B. There is a memory allocated for which one? C. But where this memory is allocated within which function? Function 1. So inside the function 1, there is a memory allocated for how many variables? 3 variables. Now these variables are called which variables? Local variables. Is it execution of function is completed or not? Yes. Once the execution of function is completed, the control is returned to which place? Calling place. Once the execution of function is completed, the control is returned to which place? Calling place. Once it is written, what will happen? This memory is what here? Deallocate. So what is the lifetime of local variables? The lifetime of local variables is until execution of function. Once the execution of function is completed, is it this data is available or not available? Not available. Because lifetime of these local variables are until execution of the function. So once the function execution is completed, is it these variables are available or not available? Not available. Okay, then suppose again I call the function 1. This time I send how many values? 3 values. That is, next time when I call the function by giving A value is 100, B value is 200, and C value is what? 300. So are giving values according to the position or not? Yes. So first position is what? A. Second one is what? B. And third one is what? C. Required positional arguments. Okay, now required. Now I must give the values for this. If I don't give the values for this, okay, suppose first time when I call, how many values I input? 3 values. Second time when I call it, how many values I input? 3 values. First value is 100, second value is 200, third value is what? 300. Okay, now so function 1, again I call the function 1, but this time I'm just writing some 88 comma 99. So are you given 3 values or only 2 values? 2 values are given. Now this 88 is a value of which one? A. And 99 is a value of which one? B. But are you given value to C? No. But C is required or not required? Required. Because required arguments means it required a value. Now see here, function 1 is missing. What is the error? Function 1 is missing one required positional argument. Which one is required here? C value is also required. So I just give the value of C, and what is the value of C is given? 77. Now once I run this, you can see 88, 99, and one more value is what? 77. So are you getting on? So can you give these arguments in the different order? See, you are giving in the same order, right? So first you are giving A value, then B value, and then what? C value. But can you give in different order? Yes. You can give in different order, but how? By giving argument names. Now first I want to give the value for B. So value for B is 11. Then I want to give the value for A, which is 22. Then I want to give the value for C, and the value of C is given some, okay, 55. Now, is it these values are given in the same order or different order? Different order. If you want to give the input in different order, you are trying to give the input in different order by giving what names? Argument names. Argument name. So in this case, this argument name work as a key. This argument name work as what? Key. And argument value is a value of that argument. So what is the key here? Argument name, which is nothing but B, which is nothing but what? B. And what is the value of B is given? 11. Okay, so what is the argument name here? A. And what is the value of A? 22. Okay, now what is the argument name? C, which is nothing but key and whose value is 55. So can you give in different order or not? Yes. But if you want to give the input to the arguments in different order, you have to give it along with what name? Argument name. So giving input to the function with the argument name, generally you call it as keyword arguments. Keyword, which one is a keyword here? Argument name along with the value, key and value, right? Yes. So this is how you call the function by giving input. So, but required arguments require the values. Required arguments, compulsory required values. If you don't give the values, then it gives error. For example, yes. For example, I'm developing a calculator, right? Calculator is having some functions. Okay, so there is a function called which one? Add. So for adding this, this add required some input or not? Yes. Then I'm trying to give two inputs. One is A and one more is what? B. So add is a function, receives how many values here? Two values. Then I'm saying sum of. Okay, sum of A and B. Sum of A and B is what I'm saying? A plus B. Sum of A and B is what here? A plus B. So first you are given the value of A, then given the value of B, and you are trying to add these two values. So there is one more function called sub. So this function again having how many arguments? Two arguments. Then again I'm writing format. So difference of A and B. Difference of A and B is what I'm writing? A minus B. So in my program, how many functions I have written? two functions. One function name is add and one more function name is what here? Sub. Add is one function and sub is what here? Another function. Okay. Add is one function and sub is another function. Okay. Now suppose whenever you want to add, now here my main program starts. Here my main program starts where I try to input some numbers. Integer of input enter which number? First number. Then number 2 equal to integer of input enter which number? Second number. So I try to input how many numbers here? Two numbers. So that is number 1. The other one is what? Number 2. Then I want to perform some operation. What is it operation? Add. Okay, then I input which value? Number 1 and second one is what? Number 2. So you are passing how many values to the add function? 2 values. So this number 1 is received by which variable? A. And this number 2 is received by which variable? B. And after receiving A and B, what is the message it will display? Sum of A. What is the value of A? Number 1. What is the value of B? Number 2. Then the value of A plus B here. After that, result 2 equal to sub. Then again I send the number 1 comma number 2. So same values I am doing how many operations here? 2 operations. One is adding and one more is what? Subtracting. Then yes, no, not written. Now why I send here? Not assigned. Yes, I just call add and sub, right? So once I run this, enter first number which is 5 and second number is what? 2. You can see sum of 5 and 2 is what? 7 and difference of 5 and 2 is what? 3. So function not only, yes, I think you understood this, right? Okay, so how many inputs I have given to the add? 2 inputs. How many inputs are given to the sub? 2 inputs. 2 inputs are given to the add function and 2 inputs are given to which function? Sub function. So this number 1 is assigned to A variable and number 2 is assigned to which variable? B variable. In this case, number 1 is assigned to A variable and number 2 is assigned to which variable? B variable, right? Yes. So here function not only receive values, a function also return value, right? So this function receive how many values? 2 values. Okay, and after receiving, what it is doing? It is performing one operation. What operation this function is performing? Add. So this function also receive how many values? 2 values. After receiving a values, it is performing one operation. What is the operation it is performing? Subtraction. Now this is performing an operation called addition and this is performing an operation called which one? Subtraction, right? Okay, just to try to see here. Now function not only receive values, it is also return value. But how a function return the value? So for that you are using one keyword. And what is that keyword you are using? Return keyword. You are using one keyword. So what is the name of the keyword? Return. So return, okay, return is a, what do you call it as? It is called as a branching statement. It is called as a branching statement. In branching statement, you have a break, continue, return. Break will terminate the execution of what? Looping statements like while and for. Okay, now, so it will come out of the while loop, come out of the while loop or for loop. So for that you are using break. And to come out of the function, if you want to come out of the function, you are using which keyword? Return. So return is a branching statement, or it is called as a process control statement. Process control statement. Return is a branching statement or process control statement. So using return, what you can do, you can return a value to which function? Calling function. See, function receive the input. After receiving input, it will perform operation. I want the result of that function should be written, not print. I don't want the function should print result. I want the function should return the result, like expression. For example, if you see 10 plus 20, 10 plus 20, what is the result? 30, right? So then you assign this expression to one, or you assign this expression to one variable. Okay, now, so because 10 plus 20 is returning one value or not? Yes. So that result is assigned to one variable called result one. In the same way, I can use a function as one expression, right? What is the name of the function? Add. What is the name of the function? Add. I'll say 10 comma 20. Then what will happen? Now add function receive how many values? Two values. After adding two values, is it printing? No, it is not printing, right? My function is not printing. What it is doing? Returning. Okay, the way how you are writing like this, 10 plus 20 is result is assigned to which variable? Result one. In the same way, the result of add function is assigned to which variable? Result one. Because add is returning some value. What value? Adding of two numbers. But how a function will return the value? And that is done by using which keyword here? Return keyword. Okay, so a function return value to caller or calling function using okay, using return using which keyword? Return keyword. A function return value to caller or calling function using which keyword? Return keyword. After returning a value, after returning value, function execution is what? Terminated. After returning value, function execution is what? Terminated. After returning a value, function execution is what? Terminated. Because return will terminate execution of what? Function. Return will terminate the execution of function. Now, return, what is the syntax? The syntax of return is like this. Syntax is return. The syntax is return and it followed by value, the result of any expression. Return, it